Hey, somebody needs to start writing. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here, today and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, I was there a couple of weeks ago, and just the variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV blows my mind. They have the Hustler turf equipment, the entire line of Echo power tools, and of course, Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs, and that's a lot. They have the big Polaris side-by-sides, the bigger Ranger Crew, the sport models, and you have to see the showroom. Taxidermy, antique displays, indoor porch with a porch swing, coffee, comfortable chairs, big television. Stop in and meet Shannon and Lisa Tucker. You know, they treat customers like family, which is why people from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. Sometimes we're heavy into the observations. Sometimes we try to get heavy into the answers, but we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. And we have that today. We have my friend, the Director of Communications for WisdomHarbor.com and author, Tami Nantz. Hey, Tami.
Hey.
I am so glad you're here.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's weird to be on this side of the table.
Well, you know, you're always on this side, or you're writing for this side.
Always in the background.
Yeah, well, you know, not anymore. Not anymore. You've written an awesome book. First of all, how's John? And
good.
Everybody good?
Good. Yeah.
Okay. John's
Staying
still
busy.
writing?
Yep.
Yeah.
He is working on his own novel. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Coming soon.
I can't wait for that. Yeah, a novel written by a retired special agent of the FBI.
Yeah.
I was looking at John. I think
good.
John knows where the bodies are buried. You know, so I think this book is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Really good. And so you have written a book that has been kind of close to you for a while, and the name of it is "This Isn't the Life I Prayed For."
Yeah.
And it's a devotion. It's a
study of the book of Job.
A book of Job. Now, how did you get interested? I hesitate to ask, how did you get interested in Job? Because usually we're reading Job and we're like, oh my God, where's a cliff I can jump off of?
And that's exactly how. This is not the book I wanted to write, and so I should have put that on the cover.
That would have been a good subject.
I know.
This isn't the life I prayed for. And it isn't the book I wanted to write.
It really wasn't. And as you know, I mean, because you've been on me for years about writing a different book.
Oh, really? Have I?
Yeah.
Oh.
We literally, when we met, I talked to you about the idea of the book I wanted to write.
Right.
About my dad's story, and I just have had that. I have been trying to write that book for years, and there was just something stopping me. And I've written pieces of it. I have a whole lot of that book written, but I just could not. There were things I was grappling with my dad's story.
And your dad was
was a Vietnam veteran. He was shot in Vietnam by a sniper and lost a lot of his men who died trying to save his life or saving his life. And so, but there was. I don't know. I think it's just the way my dad's perspective on suffering that I didn't understand yet.
Right.
And so I had just continued to go in circles about this other book. And then earlier this year, and I have always had a love-hate relationship with Job. I don't like reading it. I don't like it is a hard book to understand.
You're making this book hard to promote, Tammy. Hey, I've written this book and I wrote it about something I don't like reading. I don't like hearing about.
Well, I would start because every time I would go through something hard, I would go to the book of Job and I would start reading it and really trying to understand, okay, what is God doing through this thing? And what am I supposed to, how did Job get through this? Like, what was the solution to suffering? And I never could really get all the way through. I would kind of get hung up in the middle. And then, of course, you jump to the end and God does a miracle in his life, but it doesn't end the way we think it, should end. And so,
I love a line that you have at the first of the book, which is, there are many inspirational books in the Bible. Job is not one of them. I laughed out loud when I read that.
Yeah, because it's a hard, okay, I started, what kind of made me go headfirst into writing this book? I started a Bible study at the beginning of this year. And I had notes, like I had compiled.
Were you teaching it? Or?
I was teaching it,
All
on Zoom.
All right.
And I had compiled a ton of notes about Job, but had never done, a Bible story. Because you ask people, hey, you want to come study the book of Job with me? And most people are like, yeah, no thanks, I'm out. And so...
I'm already depressed enough.
It is. And so I put the word out, and I had like 20 women respond. Oh, yes, this is something I really need right now. And after the first session, we had like 13, 14 show up for the first one. And by the second session, it was half. And I got emails saying, hey, this was great, but I can't handle this topic right now. I can't do this. It's too heavy. It's too hard. And then the book we used was a book that was kind of, it was tough to get through, but the ladies that I ended up having the study with, we really kind of dug in, and I kind of wrote as we went along to supplement the harder study we were going through, which was by Oswald Chambers. And by the time we got done, I was like, I think people need something that's simpler to understand about, going through the book of Job.
Let me ask you, when I'm writing, when I'm getting an idea for a book, or, I can have a great idea about a story, something to build it around, but that's not enough to make me commit to writing. What I have to commit to the time and the effort it takes to write a book is I have to have this moment where I learn something and I go, people don't know this.
Yeah.
And people need to hear this. And that's enough to make me. So was there something?
Yes.
Was there a moment that you had where you went, man, I did not know this, and I don't think anybody else knows this?
Yeah. The moment for me was getting to the end of the book and realizing, okay, the book of Job really isn't so much about suffering as it is about relationship. It's about relationship with God, the ongoing relationship he wants to have with us. The key to Job's story and what happened in Job's life wasn't so much God did a miracle in his life, and that was huge. But Job prayed for his friends, and that was the turning point. And I had never seen that. I have read the book of Job hundreds of times probably, and never seen that verse. It never stood out to me like it did this time, that Job prayed. God told Job, pray for your friends, that, and things will, that will be the turning point. And that was the turning point. He prayed for his friends. And so those two things, but primarily it's not so much about, we all go through suffering. That's a very human, thing. But what God wants to build through suffering and is relationship with us. And so that really was my takeaway, and that's what the whole book is about, really.
You didn't just write this book and now we're putting it out to see how it works. You have already done this devotion.
Oh, yeah.
That you have written. You've already done it. You weren't thinking, you weren't imagining through it.
No.
You were working through it.
Yeah. I was working through it, and not necessarily with the intention of writing a book, but when we got done with that Bible study, I was like, I think I have something here. I think I can turn this into something bigger. And so I really sat down as soon as we finished that study about the end of March and just started hammering it out. And I don't know how I don't know how, honestly. Somebody asked me when I got done, how did you do that? And I said, I really don't know. I literally for days just sat and wrote. And this is what came out of it.
Well, that is a common experience when you're being led by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just telling you. Because when I wrote Traveler's Gift, and then I signed a 3-book deal after Traveler's Gift.
Yeah.
Okay. When I sat down to write the first book of that 3-book deal, I just panicked because I thought, wait a minute, I don't know how I wrote Traveler's Gift. Well, what am I doing signing a contract to write 3 more? I don't even know how I did this. Yeah. And so it took me, because like you, I would get kind of immersed in it. Yeah. And I would just kind of be writing, then look up and 2 hours had passed. Yeah. And so it took me literally 4 or 5 books to realize what was happening and to be able to plug into that.
Yeah.
And so I've read this book that you wrote. Yeah. And I obviously, you and I keep in close touch. And so,
we do.
There's not even if we don't talk to you during the day, Matt and I talk about you. So if that makes you feel better. And
as long as it's good.
It's all good. It's all good. We're not cussing or anything. And so when you said, I'm getting ready to write. And I'm like, all right, good. And you said,
you're probably thinking, it's about time.
Right. And I was like, you're going to do it. And you said devotion. I'm like, okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, good. What you going to write it on? Job?
Oh.
Really? Okay. Well, that will be uplifting. And I was thinking, wait a minute, come on. You don't ever see Joel Osteen preaching on Job, I mean, yeah. And so I'm like, good grief. But I was just like you. I'd read it a bunch of times, and I thought it was a book about suffering. And you have pointed out, you have pointed out something very, very interesting, because I've never heard Job described as a book of relationships. Never.
Yeah.
And I think that if, we may or may not have meaning from our suffering, but we can have meaning from our relationships and guidance from our relationships, and we can guide others. I mean, the relationship part of it is so much more important than the suffering storyline.
Sure it is. Well, if you look at the progress of the book of Job, he's a wealthy man. The Bible describes him perfect and upright. He's respected in his community. He's got seemingly everything that the world has to offer. And then he loses literally everything except his life. And he did not lose his wife. Although I do think their relationship was a little bit rocky.
After she started griping at him, I bet he wished he'd have lost her. Yeah.
So,
why didn't you go with the deal?
Then his friends show up, and for a week they're quiet, and they should have stayed that way, and they don't. And so then and this is where people get lost, because we don't tend to stick with the story through the whole middle. I mean, they're the Google, estimates that maybe it was a month's worth of time that this ongoing conversation went on with his friends. And then you get to the end, and God steps in, and he ends the book in awe of God, in spite of all of the suffering that he went through. And so when you think about that, and then you think about the suffering that we've got, that I can only speak for myself, the suffering I've gone through in my own life, the loss of both of my parents, illness, my husband's illness, my daughter's illness, things like that. And you can, in hindsight, look back and see God's hand in every step, often, if you're a believer. But when you're in the middle of it, I mean, it feels never ending, and you're not really seeing the awe part of it. But it's really awesome to be able to look back and see what God has done through different times of suffering in your life. And I think it's really one of my favorite parts of the whole book is where God begins to ask him questions and point out all of, the things and in life and in the world that he's created that are so incredible that we just don't pay attention to. And so Job then pivots and his whole perspective changes at the end of the book. So I don't know. I would like to hope that I can always come through a time of suffering and end like that.
Well, I got to say that when I read this book and closed my eyes, sat there just thinking about it a little bit, I realized I had not a million years expected this to be a book of hope. That it's a book of hope, a book of understanding, and sometimes it seems like a book of understanding the ununderstandable. Is that the word? Things that can't be understood or seemingly can't be understood, and I think there's a great deal of relief in suffering if you can figure the purpose.
Yeah. If you're going to go through something, you want to know that it was for a reason. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I had a girl order the book recently who messaged me, and she said, I ordered the book based purely on the title because I'm in my mid-30s. I'm single. This is not the life I prayed for. And I want to know that there's hope in spite of that.
Right.
And there is hope. I hope that people will read this book and end feeling hopeful and knowing that God has a purpose for your life in spite of, sometimes what feels like his complete silence.
I think it's a great title because I have heard that verbally from a few people in my life. And so it's not an uncommon thought, even though I think that some of us don't say it out loud because it feels like we ought to be guilty for saying that.
Well, where that title came from is, my dad came to live with us the last 4 months of his life. And I would often go on walks when I was very frustrated. I was caretaking. He was very sick. And my dad was the most gracious patient you would ever take care of. But it was very frustrating. Caretaking 24/7 is a tough job for anybody. But when it's your parent, it's just, I don't know, it's hard. And I would go for a walk and I would pray and I'd be like, okay, Lord, this is not what I prayed for. Like, I wanted Dad to come live with me, but not like this. Like, This is not what I prayed for. This is not what I meant,
Right.
And so that's where that title came from.
Wow.
So
suffering can come in many forms.
Yeah.
And it can come, physically as a part of relationships, as a heart thing. It can come in many forms. And this is the book for that.
Well, it was finished the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated.
Really?
And for me, that had a lot of significance because I needed to go back and read my own book, and I did that day.
I know that feeling too.
Yeah, that's it came to my inbox. The designer sent it the day he was killed, and I literally sat down and read through my own book and sobbed through my own book because I'm like, I need this.
Yeah.
And so there is hope and there is a purpose in our suffering. And I think we saw that through his family and the people that celebrated his life. They kind of demonstrated that there is purpose beyond what we can see. And so, yeah.
Well, allow me, as we close, to bless your book with words that were said over the Traveler's Gift 21 years ago. And this is after 3.5 years of trying to get it published, then a year the publisher messing with it, and then going to the bookstores, out of the bookstores, didn't sell, then another year of just giving them away. And then on Good Morning America, Diane Sawyer held that book toward the camera. She said, "This is a book America needs at this time." And I remember thinking, wow, at this time. We had not gone through 9/11 when I was trying to get the book published. And there was a very specific American time. And so I believe that your book is a book America needs at this time. There's a lot of people that are suffering, and I'm not sure everybody knows why.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I thank you for being here with us.
And thank you for
thank you for finally writing your book.
I'm telling you.
You've written other people's books. You've ghostwritten books.
I know. But it's a whole different ballgame when you're doing your own.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah. Well, we're real happy for you, proud of you. Now, how can people get the book?
It is available for pre-order right now at TamiNantz.com. That's TAMINANTZ.com. And it will probably be ready in the next 30 to 40 days. Okay. They're telling me.
So available for pre-order,
yes.
And we'll put that on the show notes.
And I'm actually, anyone who pre-orders, I am sending a free PDF copy right away because I want people to start the book quickly.
Awesome.
So they don't have to wait for the book. They just have to wait for the physical book.
Right.
And so,
wow.
That's a little promotion.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the audio version will be out.
Yeah, very soon. Our wonderful Matt Limpert helped me with that yesterday. So that will be available. And then it will also be available in a PDF digital download. We're not able to do an ebook this round, but it will be. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Anytime, as you know. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Cigarellos for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by the research scientist at Add a Doodle and Do It Labs. As you know, 20 years ago, standard poodle genetics were mixed with those of a Labrador Retriever, the result of which was the first official dog whose breed name ended in doodle. Today, there's not a breed of canine that hasn't been doodleized. Yes, statistics show that most people believe dogs are being doodled to death. But recent laboratory successes have shown a way for us to doodle outside the lines. Standard poodle DNA is now being applied to a wide range of recipients, like the Maine Coon Cat Standard Poodle Mix. At 9 months, the kittens weigh more than 70 pounds. We call this mix the Kitten Caboodle. We offer more than 50 genetically sequenced types of animal doodles. So far, it's only mammals, but we're already working on a doodle mix for birds and reptiles. Find us online today at addadoodleandoit.com.